Most players search for moves. Grandmasters search for the truth of the position. Only once the facts are clear does the plan begin to emerge. So let's look at this position the way a grandmaster would. Development, white is ahead because black still hasn't castled. Piece activity, white is better because the bishop on d7 is passive. Bishop pair, black has it. All these are things a grandmaster would spot in just a couple of seconds, and then move on to the most important clue, the pawn structure, which shapes almost everything else. Those doubled central pawns are probably the first thing that catches your eye too. Yes, they are weaknesses, but they also give white extra control over the center. On top of that, white's e-file is semi-open, while black's remains closed. There's also a completely open file that belongs to neither side yet. Now, take a moment and put all these factors together and try to find a reasonable plan for white. In the game, this position is taken from white played knight takes d7 to eliminate black's bishop pair, the only plus in black's camp. But the price is our most advanced and active minor piece. So yes, we remove black's plus, but at the same time we also give up one of our own biggest advantages. You might be thinking, okay, so maybe the move is not bad, it simply keeps the balance. But that's not really the case. Because the question is, which factor matters more in this kind of position? The bishop pair or piece activity? In this mainly closed middle game, piece activity matters far more than the bishop pair. That means black actually benefits more from this exchange. And this is exactly how we want to think. Every move needs a reason. We shouldn't just say, let's take and see what happens. We want to justify every decision with clear arguments. The next plan comes directly from the pawn structure. White's e-file is semi-open, and because there is no pawn on e3, there is extra room to move pieces toward the kingside. That immediately suggests a rook lift. But now we move from positional thinking to something more concrete. Calculation. Can the attack actually be fast enough? For example, after rook fe1 and black castles, white might continue with queen d1, protecting against knight h5, and then rook e3, rook h3, building pressure on h6. If black is careless and drifts away from the kingside with something like knight d7, white may even be ready to sacrifice on h6, followed by queen g4, queen h5, and knight f7. Of course, this only works if black allows it. They can defend with moves like king h7 and continue with the queenside counterplay, a5 and b4. So this is one of those positions where the idea looks attractive, but a lot depends on calculation. If the attack does not break through, white may end up with the rook stuck on h3, and black's counterplay on the c-file becoming the bigger factor. Another plan is to play on the open c-file. It sounds simple, but if we fail to control the file, we might just end up trading rooks and drifting into an endgame with weak double pawns. So once again, calculation is required. The natural start is rook fc1. The other rook stays on a1, supporting the possible a4 break. After black castles, white can move the knight away and prepare to double the rooks on the c-file. Now if black directly challenges the file with rook c8, white is happy to trade once and bring the other rook to c1. From there, the rook is seriously threatening to invade on c7. At this point, moves like rook a7 make sense, not to win the file, but to stop white's invasion. Surprisingly, the engine sees the position as balanced, but from a human point of view, this is much easier to play for white. Their pieces are more active, and black has to defend accurately. One of my students pointed out that this advanced pawns on the queenside pose a threat. The pawn duo can indeed be a positive thing for black. They provide a space advantage. But in order to build an initiative from it, black needs active pieces backing them up. And right now, white is actually better prepared for anything that happens on that side of the board. Our queen is there, The f4 bishop keeps an eye on key queenside squares, and the knight has useful control over c6. So instead of being afraid of those pawns, white can actually use them. That makes the a4 pawn break a very interesting option. If black opens the game and gets rid of the bad bishop, after queen takes a4, white gets a huge initiative, because black wouldn't want to tie the position down for a long time with knight e7. White just plays rook c1 and you see black cannot even castle. Instead, back in this position, the correct response for black is to keep the structure closed with b4. Then after castling and rook fc1, the game starts to resemble our previous plan, involving playing on the c-file, only now with a4 and b4 already included. The point of this video is not to tell you the best line, you won't get this exact position anyway. The real value is learning how to think in the middle game, what to look for, how to assess the position, and how to build plans based on clear reasoning. In this example, we found several reasonable plans. Some worked better than others, but that is not the main lesson. What matters is the thinking behind them. Good plans come from positional understanding, the pawn structure and piece activity, not from random moves or sudden impulses.